Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Jonathan back again with the weekly scope, and today I'm doing a mock draft. With the draft being less than 5 days away, I am here thinking, what is gonna happen? We've already seen a trade with the Christian Wood trade that does change up this mock draft slightly towards the end, but regardless, we're gonna do a mock draft, a quick little mock draft right here. And number one overall pick, my opinion, Chet Holmgren is the guy of this draft, regardless of position. I think he's the most talented. And honestly, I think the Magic would be dumb to not draft him, especially with them already having a logjam at the forward position. So I think Chet Holmgren is without the doubt the pick here. Now we go on to the Oklahoma City Thunder. We got two potential picks here with Paolo Banchero or Jabari Smith. But me personally, I love Jabari Smith's fit with Shy, with Josh Giddey, and the young core they have there. I think Jabari Smith is definitely the guy for this team, and I think he's going to do wonders with their young core. Next up, we have the Houston Rockets, and Paolo Banchero. That is actually the perfect pick for me. I love his potential fit with Jalen Green and Christopher Wood got traded, and Kevin Porter Jr. I think Paolo is a great fit, and I think the Christian Wood trade actually helps his potential of being drafted here. I think there's a reason that trade went through, and this is it because they think they're either going to get Paolo or Jabari Smith. And I think this is great for his development, and I think the dynamic between him and Green and their play styles are definitely going to help the Houston Rockets be a great offensive team in the future and possibly very, very soon. Next up, we got the Sacramento Kings. Me personally, I love Shaden Sharp with this pick. I think this is a team that needs to hit on a player, and even they can't focus at this point with De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. They gotta win now, and they can't be focusing on talent like a Jaden Ivey. I think they definitely need someone like Shaden Sharp, and if he hits and he could reach that Bradley Beal ceiling, which he has all the physical tools to do, I think he could be an amazing guard at this level and an amazing player. So that's definitely the pick for me for the Sacramento Kings. Next up, we got the Detroit Pistons. Me personally, I love Jaden Ivey and I love what he could bring to this team. But at the same time, I love Keegan Murray and I love his fit with Cade Cunningham. But if I were this team, guards, we just saw Curry win a chip. So guards are definitely in high demand. And I'll take Jaden Ivey at this point in the draft process. Next up, we got the Pacers. Honestly, the Pacers are a team that could use a lot of players, and at this point, there's not really anybody that is a standout pick. But I definitely love Keegan Murray here. I think his fit with Tyrese Halliburton will be an amazing one, and I think those two could definitely grow together and have. I wouldn't say either of them is the superstar that carry this franchise, but I think they're solid second and third options. And maybe next year you get a higher pick in the draft and potentially draft your number one guy. I think Keegan Murray and Tyrese Halliburton are perfect complementary picks to another young star. Next up with the seventh pick, we have a whole bunch of different possibilities for the Portland Trail Blazers, and there's definitely different places you could go here. Me personally, though, I would definitely love for them to draft someone like Dyson Daniels. Yes, he's a point guard. Yes, he still got Damian Lillard, but I think the difference between Dyson Daniels is that he's a bigger point guard. It helps in today's NBA to have these type of switchable guards that could also potentially guard the four, maybe even the three. I won't say he will be a productive person at that, but if you look at his frame and his ability, I think he could definitely be a great fit next to Damian Lillard or with Anthony Simmons if they eventually move on from Dame. Next up, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, and for them, I really love AJ Griffin. I think Griffin's mix of athleticism, three-point shooting, and everything in between is great, especially next to Zion. And I think he's very similar to Zion, which helps with Zion's history of not necessarily being the most injured guy or the most healthiest guy, and he's been plagued with injuries. So AJ could be this guy that throughout the season, if Zion needs rest or he gets injured, you could plug him into the lineup, and that way the Pelicans won't be losing much, or as much, I should say, when Zion does get injured or needs rest. Next up, we have the San Antonio Spurs. Me personally, I love the pick of Jalen Duren here. I think this is the next Bam Adebayo or the closest thing you will get to in the foreseeable future. And who better to coach him up than the San Antonio Spurs? They've drafted a whole bunch of guards slash forwards in the last couple years, and I think taking a big man in this draft definitely makes sense for them. So that's the pick here. Next up, we have the Washington Wizards, Johnny Davis. I think that's the guy in this draft that you pick here. I like Johnny Davis's ability, and honestly, I think with Beal potentially leaving, it's yet to be seen, but with Beal potentially leaving, I think Johnny Davis is a perfect pick here. He's a young scorer. If anything, you could make him come off the bench, have that Tyler Hero role, and then potentially later on take over as a starter, and you have a nice young piece to play with. Now we have the New York Knicks, and the New York Knicks are a very interesting team because of their needs. I feel like they have a lot of needs, and there's not necessarily a guy that I feel like could fix them as a team. But at the same time, I do like a lot of the players here. Tari Eason is a nice shout out for them. Jeremy Sochan, like his productivity. But if I were them, I would take a swing on Usomi Dieng. I like this pick for them. Yes, he is a project player, but at the same time, the Knicks are kind of stuck in no man's land. So I would prefer for them to just swing for the fences with this pick, and I think that's what this is. And I think it's still a solid pickup at this point in the draft. And now again, we have the OKC Thunder. The Thunder are a team at this point where, they would have Jabari Smith, they have Josh Giddey, they have a whole bunch of players. So do you continue taking these project type players? They would have Chet at this point. Well, no, they would have Jabari at this point, and you got Shy already. I think a nice fit for them is definitely Tari Eason here. I like his productivity. I like his size. And, this team at this point would be missing a wing. And I honestly think Tari Eason could be that guy for them. And that's my pick for them here. Now we have the Hornets. Me personally, for the Hornets, I like this pick that I'm about to make. And it's Jeremy Sochan. We all know what just happened with Kenny Atkinson and not wanting to be the coach of this team. But regardless, I think Jeremy Sochan, with the potential of Miles Bridges leaving, and we don't know the future of PJ Washington necessarily, I think Sochan is someone you could draft, and he's a great defender, so he's a perfect fit next to LaMelo. And honestly, I think this is a solid pickup for them and for their future. And the reason we drafted Jeremy Sochan and not Mark Williams is because Cleveland doesn't need a center, so I think this team is a win now type team, and there's no better player for them than Ochai Agbaji. He's a senior, so he's a bit older. He's a wing. He does possess a lot of similarities to Isaac Okoro, but I don't think that's a problem with this team. I think you're looking to win now and make the playoffs with your core of Garland and Mobley, and I think this is a nice pickup for them and someone I definitely like in this draft for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And now, with the Hornets back on the board, they select their center. They've been needing one. Me personally, I was a fan of Kai Jones last year, but Mark Williams is a more traditional center, and I think he could fit against or with LaMelo, and I think that's going to be a solid pickup for them in this draft. And now we have the Atlanta Hawks, and the Hawks is a wait-and-see team because we don't know if John Collins will be traded or not. That could definitely switch up this pick. But me personally, as a Heat fan, I saw the Heat lock up Trae Young, so I think Ty Washington is the pick here. You bring him off the bench. He's a productive guard, and honestly, I think he'll be good at the next level. And I think coming off the bench, giving Trae Young a breather, potentially playing with Trae, depending on his development, and I think this could be a great addition to this Atlanta Hawks team. Now we got the Houston Rockets again, and at this point, you start thinking, all right, we got Jalen, we got Kevin Porter Jr., we got Sengun, we have Josh Christopher, we have Paolo. I think at this point, you try to look for your wing, and I think Benedict Mathurin as a sophomore is a great pickup here. He did drop for me a little bit. I'm not as high on Benedict, but I do think he's a great pick. And if he does somehow fall here in the draft, which he probably won't, I think he'll be a solid pickup for the Houston Rockets here, and he'll help them win games next season. Next up, we have the Chicago Bulls, and me personally, it seems like Zach LaVine will resign, so I would normally take Jaden Hardy here, but it's EJ Liddell. I love him as a prospect. He reminds me a lot of PJ Tucker, and I think his defensive and just natural knack for winning games does wonders for this Bulls team and could definitely help them win games next season. So I'll definitely take him with this pick in the draft. Next up, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. This team is kind of also in no man's land. I love Anthony Edwards. I don't think Karl-Anthony Towns will ever win anything here. If I was the Timberwolves, me personally, I would be shopping him. We already know they're shopping D'Angelo Russell, but trading him will probably be a lot harder. But with that being said, I do think that drafting somebody like Kennedy Chandler makes sense, especially because you already have rumors of D'Angelo being traded. So even if he hits free agency, you probably won't re-sign him. So I think Kennedy Chandler is a nice pickup here for this team. And now we have the San Antonio Spurs. Honestly, this team loves drafting their shooting guard, small forward hybrids, and I could definitely continue or see them continuing making those moves. And Malachi Branham is definitely the pickup here. In my opinion, this just seems like a Spurs pick, and I would not be surprised if we see this. And now we have the the Nuggets, and honestly, the Nuggets could use a variety of different pieces. Me personally, I would love for them to take a guard because of Jamal Murray's injury history, but I feel like defense is definitely a priority with this team. And honestly, there aren't crazy amazing defenders here, but somebody I really like and I believe his athleticism will help him become a better defender in the next level is Martin Buchamp. Honestly, really like this pick for them. I think with their development team, his offense will definitely grow. And with his defense and size and length, I think that'll be a nice pickup for the Nuggets in the future. Next up, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies will definitely benefit from this player right here called Jaden Hardy. I think he dropped, but in my opinion, his talent is still there. You need a team that could unlock it, and who better than the Memphis Grizzlies? I think he could actually be a star in this draft still, even with him falling. But regardless, I'm high on Jaden Hardy, and I think this is a solid pickup here. Now with the Philadelphia 76ers, I think they definitely need some pieces, and we don't know where they're going with James Harden. They probably will re-sign him, but regardless, I think Jalen Williams is a nice pickup here. He's a shooting guard. He'll be good in the future, and hopefully they could develop him into a piece next to Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid when James Harden eventually retires or leaves the roster. Next up, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. They faced adversity not having Chris Middleton this year, and I think they look for somebody to back him up. And in this case, it is Blake Wesley from Notre Dame. I think this is a nice pickup for them and a solid player for them to have coming off the bench. And now we have the San Antonio Spurs. I think the San Antonio Spurs, with this pick, for some reason, I can't see them going anything else but this player, and I don't know, he reminds me of a pop player, great on defense, a great shooter. Jake LaRavia, I'm a fan of him. Slowly but surely through this draft process, he's impressed me more and more, and I think he's gonna be a great player in the next level. And I feel like Pop could definitely get the best out of him. So I think him with Duran DeJounte Murray and all the other guards that they have will be a great fit. And I think his fit with Jalen Duren is actually great. And if the Spurs somehow pull this off in the draft, I think it'll be a great draft class for them. Next up, we have the Rockets again. The Rockets at this point would be looking for talent anywhere they could find it. And if we're just talking about pure talent, me personally, I love Patrick Baldwin. I think he's going to be great in this class, regardless if he does fall. And I think eventually, if he has a shot, he could be one of the best guys in this draft. And him and Paolo were compared a lot throughout their high school careers. And me personally, I don't think there's any problem with a team like Houston who is rebuilding. They just traded Christian Wood. Why not double down on the power forward position? And hey, worst case scenario, Paolo and Baldwin both work out. And you got two great power forwards, and you could potentially trade one. Or just keep them both and just go crazy with them. Have a 6'9" small forward and power forward, and a 6'10" power forward. Great fit next to Jalen Green. I think that would be a great lineup eventually in the future. Next up, we have my Miami Heat. And in this draft class, I love the pickup of Nikola Jovic. I don't know if this will happen in the actual draft. I know a lot of teams are high on him. And, of course, he has a comparison to Jokic. But me personally, I like him as a potential fit next to Bam Adebayo. And I think he could help this team win even next year and help with the forward and height disadvantages Miami face basically throughout the whole year. And next up, we have the NBA champions, the Golden State Warriors. And I like Dalen Terry here. Honestly, I think he's a great pickup at this point in the draft. You miss out on LaMelo, but you get another 6'7" point guard. And honestly, I think he could help them win now. And I think he's a great pick at this point in the draft. And now we have the Memphis Grizzlies. Honestly, at this point, I think they should just be looking for people that could help them win as soon as next season starts. And I like Walker Kessler. He could just back up Steven Adams. I think there's a nice pickup here, a traditional big man, but every team needs those. And I think he'll be a nice pickup for this team. Now we have the Nuggets again with the 30th pick. And, I think there's multiple different ways you could go here. But me personally, I like Bryce McGowens. I like his ability to shoot. And, just because Jamal Murray has dealt with injuries, I believe Will Barton is a free agent this year. I'm not entirely sure. But I do think Bryce McGowens gives them depth. And I think he can definitely help this team out in the offensive side of the ball. And that's the end of the first round. Honestly, I like how this played out. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these picks go this way. I think, me personally, I picked this way because I like a lot of the fits. And I like how a lot of the players mesh with these teams. But, the draft always has surprises here and there. But with that being said, we'll see how all this plays out. And see you next time. Peace.